Good morning. I hope you have had a good break. We are on to a very interesting topic, and I welcome all my co-panelists on stage. Very pleased to have you all here. We are all familiar with this digital era that is upon us, and it presents a significant amount of challenges and opportunities, both for business as well as for the HR fraternity. The traditional role of HR that we have known is significantly undergoing a change. And HR is presented with a significant amount of challenges and dilemmas as it traverses through this entire transformation. Now, HR professionals need not only to take their decisions through digital technologies, they also need to enhance the employee experiences and also foster a culture of digital integration that happens because of the adoption of digital technologies. With so many of these challenges happening, the future of work is actually here. The future of work that we keep on talking of is actually here upon us. And it demands a very strategic partnership between HR and business. And in today's panel discussion, we'll seek to explore some of these very imperative questions that we all have in mind as to how do we go through this entire transformation journey, and how do HR heads and CHROs bring their insights and their next level of thinking as we go through this journey. With that, I'd like to welcome my co-panelists on stage and go straight on to the first question that I have in mind. With digital disrupting business models worldwide, you are all facing this in your different industries. How have each of you experienced it, altering the ways of working to start off with? And if I may come to you, Deepu. Okay, Deepu is not here, sorry. So maybe to Lina.
So I think digital transformation as a journey has started quite some time ago. And if ways of working, of course, it is accelerating by every year, and with new technologies. There was a revolution of internet, then there was a revolution of transformation, there's a revolution of AI, with generative AI, it is even more imperative now. Some of the things, but where ways of working really are getting impacted. One I would say is, apart from, of course, the hybrid, because today working from anywhere has become very easy thanks to the platforms which were existing then, but we have used thanks to COVID today, be it Zoom, be it MS Teams, and the newer platforms which are coming in. So that is one aspect of it. The second critical aspects, I think, are in terms of diversity and inclusion. And when I say diversity inclusion, it is not just gender related, but the tools which are available, we can actually reach out to the workforce which have diverse needs and special needs, and utilize those tools to actually include them in the workforce. I think that is, when that starts happening, the digital transformation actually starts having a very different meaning, according to me. And I think that is where organizations start to look beyond when they start looking at diversity and inclusion. I think we will start reaching there very soon. That is the second aspect of it. And the third aspect, more importantly, is all of this can happen only when there is the culture of digital transformation. So the mindsets have to shift that we are adopting, and we are adopting very fast to all of this, because we can adopt only if we are being forced to. Then I think there will be negative imperatives as well. So I think these are two. So one is hybrid, I would say, anytime, anywhere working. Second is real diversity inclusion, to my mind, are the ways of working that come top of my mind.
Thank you so much, Lina. Ramakrishna, if I may come to you next, what have been your experiences from your industry perspective?
Am I audible? Yeah, I guess. I think for me, it's been a little different. I think it's become a little more challenging to attract the right kind of people into the organization. With anywhere working, people wanting to do a lot more digital work. Who will be that person who will go to the customer's place and collect the document? Who will be that person who will reach out to various connectors that I have to get business? Who will be that person who will conduct a physical verification? So the whole transformation to digital has kind of opened up this big question mark in the uh, organizations where traditional way of working is still required. I wouldn't say is compulsory, but it is required. We haven't moved fully to complete digital processes in a lot of things, right? And if we try and do that completely, then there is RBI, there is SEBI, and there is multiple other agencies which will come back very strongly on you and say, oh, you know what, how did you do this, how did you do that? So there is a need, and there is this whole uh, process that we are needing to complete. And therefore, given all of that, how do you navigate the challenge? How do you ensure that you create that balance? How do you talk to people, kids who are passing out of college and saying, you know what, the other person is giving me 4 days completely work from home kind of an opportunity, to me telling him it's a 6-day working with Saturday half day, and you have to travel 50 kilometers a day to ensure that your work gets done. So that, I think, is the dichotomy that organizations like us are, or the challenge that I think we're facing. We're trying to do few things, and we will talk about it as we go along. But yeah, I think that becomes the biggest challenge.
Great.
While all the other challenges that Leena spoke about remain, this I thought was a little more unique to us.
Yeah, indeed. If I may come to Sonal, your views or your experiences on how working has changed with digital.
Sure. So, very glad to be here with all of you. Couple of things. One is, I think I'll share two experiences from my own journey. One is, I drove my car after a very long time today. And simplest of thing was the red light, green light, yellow light on the signal. And it's just so easy of crossing with the timer on it, right? There was a time that I don't think I've ever imagined that you'll have everything digital. It can be as simple as that. I don't think anybody has lost their job, who's on the other side. Second is, I went to US in 2006, and I still remember experiencing GPS for the first time. And I was so amazed. I just came back and said, wow, you press a button and then you reach. And you don't have to ask 5 people. There is nobody to ask, but you still don't have to ask 5 people. So, in my belief, the human capacity is humongous. And, everybody just learns on a click. Just do it if it's needed for your kind of a setup or not needed. So I think that's one thing that I want to just leave with everybody. Second is, at the end of the day, we all are very used to hearing that a customer pays for who we are, right? And then we serve the customers and consumers. Customers will not pay because we have a fancy HR tool in our company. Customers will pay for the valuable product that we actually deliver to the customers, and hence technology is a enabler to anything that we do in the organization. Now, what does it mean to the company that I belong from? I come from a company called EPL. Many of you would have heard the name SL Propack. It used to be owned by Subhash Chandra Group before. It's owned by a strategic PE advisor, which is Blackstone. We are the largest tube making company in the world across the 4 regions. So we're very proud to be one of those Indian listed companies present across the world. And there was a time that, it was 10 years back when the entire technology had to be shifted at a very fast pace on how do we create our tubes. We are also one of the end-to-end integrated tube, which means the material which goes into the tube is made in India and China, which is then exported across all the plants in the world. And then they do what we call as printing, tubing, capping, and so on and so forth. So what did it mean for us in technology is really to ensure that our tubes of the same standard, same kind of quality, same kind of printing technology across the world in the same manner, right? And hence it meant something for our employees, which is to ensure that we train our people. Sometimes we end up saying, I am a traditional organization, I'm not a traditional organization. I've actually moved from that stage because I feel while sometimes we call ourselves traditional organizations, the speed at which our employees who have been here for 30 years have adopted technology has been fabulous. And they have done it because it was the need of the hour. That's what your customers were asking, right?
And then finally, we are doing a lot of outsourcing of how the printing is done. So you can imagine the artwork that comes from our customers, and that artwork is then printed in some sort of locations in the world, and then it's sort of shared with the local team. Now, what does it mean for our employees? Again, ensuring that the way we use our technology is immense, right? So for me, it first starts with who are we serving and why are we serving our customers, consumer? What does it mean to what you are serving and how you are serving, and then looking at what does it mean from a technology and digital transformation, and then everything will fall in line and fall in place, right? So that's a little bit of a journey that I wanted to share in our industry, which is very heavy in manufacturing. We are 98% manufacturing organization right now.
Great thoughts, and I think it's very exciting to see that even manufacturing industries have taken up digital with so much comfort and so much pervasiveness. Coming to my next question, then, as HR leaders, how have you been coping with this new demand from business on everything, right from adoption of new skills as you are adopting digital in the enterprise, hiring through automation, business partnering through Gen AI, because people are comfortable now talking to a Gen AI tool rather than talking to their business partner, right? Or even addressing the culture gap that comes due to the digital divide between the older generation and the Gen Z that is there, right? So multiple facets. What are your thoughts? Nimisha, if I may come to you, you are from the consulting industry. Yes. You are very, very people heavy. You are seeing these quite a bit. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think we have to, I'm audible, right? First, we have to assume the fact that technology or digital or whatever comes into our lives, they are there to make our lives simpler and more efficient, and not really take away the role that we were playing, but make it even more smarter, even more strategic in some way. So with that underlying thought, I think when we go and approach the solutioning that we provide to people, when you were saying that, people want to talk to Gen I than human beings, I mean, I beg to differ there. Maybe the Gen Z wants to talk to the Gen I, but they are still just entering the workforce, right? There's still a large part of the population there, including your leaders, including the mid-level, where they want a human interface, and if not the human interface, then at least a human experience, even through technology. So they just can't be thinking or having an experience of always talking to a system. And sometimes it gets very frustrating to talk to a system while you want to have a very customized, very your specific kind of conversation, or your problems are something which is perhaps not pre-fed there, right? So that level of customization, that level of humanness, and we always feel that, right, that people will always remember you, not what you said or what you were and whatever, but how you make them feel. And I think this feeling part of it is something which, at least, and it's a very personal thing from organization to organization, how you take it. Large scale things always tend to replace the emotion part of it in a lot of things and say, let's make it more efficient and let's make it more, time saving and all of that. While if you're medium sized and if you're small sized industry, then that plays a role there, because, people are less, they want more customized approach towards their life, the problems that they have or the experience that they want to have. While Gen AI or AI can solve a large part of it, I would say maybe 60% of it, the rest 40% that the humans are gonna solve for is significantly important. It cannot be underestimated. And I think that is what we are approaching things. Wherever life can be simpler, more smarter, efficient, we let technology take the place. But whenever we feel that there is a human element that's required, there is a returning mother coming. I don't want a robot to talk to my returning mother. I want to talk to that woman. And there are several other things. Somebody has gone through bereavement. Somebody has gone through some major life challenge, suffering from terminal cancer. These are things that, in order for a company to really give that employee an experience of, we are there for you, I feel, these are things that are not replaceable, but a lot of other things like, should not be running from desk to desk for one, stuff to get done. Your PF work, your lot of transactional work, which can just cut down on effort, which can just cut down on, mere admin work. definitely technology should take over, and I think every evolved organization should invest in that.
Very well made points. You're clearly segregating between the commodity work that can be given to technology
Yes.
and the human facing and the empathy work with HR.
And I will come to that, Abhijit, later on, but in this whole world of technology, which is, I mean, there's a lot of noise right now. So first, I think we should little bit also wait for the noise to settle down, because at the same time, we are talking a lot about mental well-being as well. And I sometimes, not put the two together all the time, but we can perhaps talk in the due course of the discussion that there is also the mental well-being aspect which needs to be looked at.
Indeed, a lot of technologies do make us confused at times. We'll come to that. Coming to you, Kshitij, you look at leadership coaching. You have a product for the SMB segment as well. How are you, as an HR leader, looking at some of these evolving challenges?
Mic check. Am I audible?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So let me set a small context of how I look at it. So somewhere in 1935, when Industrial Revolution was happening, almost everybody was worried about that there will be no jobs in future because some amount of factories will be able to cater to all needs of the human society ever existed. But that revolution itself created the new jobs that exist today. So, there is a lot of dystopian mindset about what AI is going to do, what technology is going to do. But at the end of it, if you look at it, it's just, it's going to evolve the ecosystem, because a lot of jobs today which exist should not exist in the first place. So 2014, the jobs that HR, we all are HR professionals, right? So the jobs that we were focused on in doing in 2014, was it really worthy enough? Running here and there, getting signs of people, maintaining Excels, it was not worthy, right? So if AI has cut that job, I think it's a good to have. So you can have an utopian mindset about it, a dystopian mindset about it, but at the end of it, I think it's the essential need of the hour. Very recently, I'll tell you a story. So once, when, this is somewhere like 500 years from now, where science has reached the pinnacle of human civilization. And there was a scientist at that point of time who went to God and said, like, we don't need you anymore. We can do anything that potentially you can do. So God asked, like, what can you really do? Can you show me? So the scientist took some soil, did some chemical reactions, did some mumbo jumbo, and then made a baby out of it, and that baby started breathing and it started crying. So God looked at it, and scientist was like, had an arrogant face in front of him, and he was like, what do you say? So God said, like, it's all great, looks all great, but get your own soil first. So essentially that's what it is. AI may evolve to whatever extent it is, but it's always going to need that human acumen to stay relevant to the society that it is. We have seen a lot of technologies doing a lot of social damages, right? What Instagram has done, what Facebook has done to a lot of communities, it's pretty evident now. So there is a responsibility to develop it in a right manner, but regardless of it, at the end of it, the intent behind any technology is always to bring in human well-being. So that's what I think about it.
Great thoughts looking into the future. Very quickly, if I can come to you, Leena, as well on this. How are you looking at some of these new technologies that are coming? Everyone is abuzz with them. How are you dealing with all this confusion? I think Nimisha mentioned it's too much, let it settle down, but how are you thinking about it?
So I think, as the fellow panelists have said, that it's anyways come and it's here to stay. So as well might embrace it. And I personally really look forward to everything that is really there on the plate right now. And so does our organization, because I think there are two industries which are generally at the helm of whenever a new technology comes. One is the tech industry, of course, because they are at the heart of it. And second, generally, is the financial service industry, because we are really running after newer things, and that's where fintech really evolved a few years ago. And of course, the rest are also there, but I think we really want to catch up on everything when it comes. And having been in financial service for a really long time, I think I'm not really worried about jobs getting lost or how jobs are going to change, etc., because that is anyways going to happen. I think the efficiency levels are really going to improve. They're already improving. What we really see is two things very clearly. One is, see, AI to my mind has always been there. AI is really evolving at a faster rate. With that has come data security challenges, which every organization today globally, it's not just India, globally does not have an answer right now. Which is why from Apple to Amazon, everyone right now is being very cautious. Financial service industry even more cautious because we are talking about data protection of customers, HR is talking about data protection of employees, and that is extremely critical. So unless those questions are answered, nobody is going to jump the bandwagon and really going to start using generative AI or any new tools. That is one. Second is, I must give it to the regulators because regulators in India are very proactive. SEBI has a working group, at least because we work with SEBI very closely, and they are actually working with all the AMCs, wealth management firms, RBI has a similar one, to see how collaboratively technology can actually improve the financial service industry. So I think, and I'm sure similar things are happening in other industries as well, which means that the technology is here to stay. Yes, there will be challenges which is there. Yes, there are different generations which are there, which means that from an HR perspective, I think we have a lot to do. We need to upskill, reskill all the time. We need to be at the helm of it to understand. We need to be first digitally savvy ourselves to know what is happening at the heart of it and work with the keeping the customers in mind. Because I think with the customers, like what Sonal said, if the customers are not, we are not delivering what the customers want, and we are not going to be there anyways tomorrow. So I think there's a whole lot of things which are there, and I think leading the change, I'm sure all of us are actually working with the tech as well as the CEOs today to see how to really navigate this change, these changes. All the challenges being there, I think it's a great time to be right now in HR. That's the way I see it.
Very, very optimistically put, but also very clearly put that we have to upscale, adopt, because technology is here to stay, and keep the customer in mind because they're really paying for what we do. Very well said. You also mentioned about challenges, Leena, which brings me to my next question, and let me come to you, Ramakrishna. What are the challenges and risks that HR leaders have been facing in dealing with this rapidly changing landscape?
Yeah.
One is the dilemma of which technologies to use.
Correct.
But other is this whole new complexity of the cultural divide, the phygital experiences, some people working from home, technology is touching you differently. How do you deal with all of these risks and challenges from an HR perspective?
I think when we look at it in our own organization, and I can put it in that context and maybe financial services a little more, technology is changing a lot of things for us, right? We just spoke about quite a few things that it is touching. So when you look at an HR life cycle, right, from trying to hire people to kind of finally exiting them, we don't want them to, but they still move on, a lot of them. So where is technology touching? Is it touching in the way we are doing things, or is it touching in the way the employees or the future employees or the current employees are looking at the organization? So when an employee or when a candidate looks at you as an organization, they're also looking at, are you digitally savvy? So I think the challenge will also be to project yourself as this fun, cool organization, and as you attract a lot more Gen Z talent or the next generation talent, how are you able to win their hearts and minds in terms of this is the organization that is right for you? I think that's the biggest challenge for HR folks. If I were to see, like today this is something that I want, tomorrow this is something completely different that I want. Can an organization which has policies that are reviewed once in 20 years change to an organization which is authoring policies along with employees every other day? Right? Today, I want a policy which talks about sabbatical, which I will get if I complete 5 years. 2, I want a sabbatical that is there every 3 months because I get a little frustrated with working on this. After 3 months of chasing a customer, if it doesn't work out, you know what, I want a break for 15 days. Can you give me that? So can my policies landscape change that way? That becomes a challenge. When I'm looking at promoting people, there are organizations which will have 15 levels. There are organizations that will have 4 or 5 levels. can I ensure that I'm able to continuously grow my employee while also remaining, kind of true to actual growth. It's not you're becoming an assistant manager to senior manager to very senior manager to very, very senior manager. There is one way of doing it. And the other way of doing it is there a meaningful change in the work that you're doing? Can you bring that meaningful change in the work that you're doing? So, this is one set of challenges. Now, technology is also helping me reach out to a lot more people than what I would otherwise do today, right? If I were to hire, I would have to go to a college, I have to do a pre-placement talk, get some kids, come to join me, try and create, a euphoria around joining me by mostly giving a higher pay than anything else. But today, with technology, I'm able to create a euphoria around the kind of organization I am, the culture that I have, the kind of policies that I have. All of this is easily disseminated to a group of people through technology, and therefore I'm able to create, an impact and in their minds, and therefore they're able to look at me as a, probable organization out of 10,000 other organizations that are trying to vie for the same person. So again, each of them comes with a challenge, comes with a benefit, and the idea is how do I ensure that I'm able to take the benefit, but I'm also trying to minimize the challenges that I have. In all of this, there are risks. I think that's a question that you had. So what's the risk? What's the risk? If I were to look back and say, how, as an organization, are we doing exactly the things that are required to be done in managing talent, in grooming talent, in hiring talent, et cetera, I don't think so. Most organizations may not be, some of them are fortunate to do it, but I feel the biggest risk is how do I ensure that this set of people also look at organizations and, kind of, while I have at one side, I keep wanting more, am I also able to give more to the organization? As an employee, I want this, I want that, I want 100 things, but am I also giving that? Am I earning what I'm asking for? Can I show that? Can I drive that, thinking in the organization? I think that's the biggest risk, if I were to put it.
Very well said. Lena, if I may come to you on the same question, what are the risks and challenges you are seeing as you are rapidly evolving to these business models?
So if I have to just go down to the practical risk right now, one is clearly hiring is a risk that we see because the technology is evolving and there are very few skilled available resources in the market. And if I have to again come back to the financial service industry, the technology and the financial service industry are eyeing for the same set of resources. So we are paying through our nose right now to get the same set of resources. Our cost to income ratio is increasing, so it's becoming very difficult. That is the first risk. Second, clearly, is what I mentioned before, the data protection risk, very clearly. Third is the regulatory risk, because anything experimentation that we are doing, we cannot do it because most industries have a regulatory framework. We have to keep the customer data, the employee data in mind and the regulatory framework. Otherwise, there are fines. And more importantly, the customer trust is at risk as well. And lastly, I think what Nimisha touched upon was that the mental well-being. I think in this entire aspect, if I have to go back to what we discussed earlier, that hybrid, anytime, anywhere, and the expectation of the earlier generation, because, where they are used to working 12, 14 hours, and the younger generation who want a work-life balance. I think this whole aspect where you have to be available all the time, and technology is enabling us to be available all the time, somewhere that barrier is not there. If that barrier is not there, the mental well-being really starts from there, and then there are many more issues which are there. The other aspects, of course, I'm sure we can spend the whole day discussing that. But I think I see these four risks which are really right now the organizations are clearly running with.
Yeah, very, very impactful points, covering across, data, regulatory, mental well-being, etc. Sonal, if I can come to you very quickly, your personal experiences of what sort of risks and challenges you have all faced. dealing with adoption of digital?
Sure. You know, every time I'm starting to talk, I see your speaking time is 29 minutes, your speaking time. So it's really like that ticker which is in front. I thought it is just my speaking time. We just said your speaking time, but that's fine. So, you know, I'll share, to me, one of the opportunities that the HR colleagues have is to understand what's the capability of the organization and what's the capacity of the organization, depending on where do you want to go. Because on a piece of paper, everybody has the same kind of targets, same kind of vision, mission. Beyond a point, everything sounds very similar. But the context is different, our consumer customers are different, and hence, to me, the technology then enables both capacity and capability. You know, I just want to take the liberty without even asking. I have a team member sitting here, and I can actually vouch with the kind of work she was doing 8 months back and with the work that she's doing today without actually going through some massive fancy training is all by her choice, right? So once you give that choice of increasing your human capacity, it's unbelievable, you know, and maybe I'm just repeating this multiple times. And hence, what's the role that technology plays? Now, I'll take an example of my previous organization, which was Johnson & Johnson. And you know, there was this drive of saying everybody in HR needs to have a digital mindset. You know, many people said, why do we need to do it globally? You know, oh my God, we have to go through one more assessment. What will that assessment do? But what it did to us as a community was just actually developing a habit of using data, technology, and building our insights. To me, that was such a fabulous way of just energizing the whole organization and say, this is what it means, which means any topic that we would choose, whether we had technology or we didn't have technology, it didn't matter. We still had the option and absolutely mandatory to get data. To get data, to get analytics, and then to ensure we're making the right decisions, you know, when we came to the management team. And slowly, then you start building different systems and different capabilities. And that's an opportunity I want to call out. The second thing is the whole organization has to work together. It cannot be just, okay, fine, it's my IT team or it's my sales team or it's my X team. I think the whole organization has to be on the same space. Otherwise, the capacity and capability doesn't match with each other, right? And then the frustration keep coming on and so on and so forth. So I think the good thing to do is to just understand what's the organization sort of landscape and how do you want to rally the whole organization together, right? Like it's a train. All sort of compartments of the train cannot run at different speed. Everybody has to run at the same speed, right? The third one that I would say is somebody spoke about simplification, and that to me is again a big realization because we have a lot of technology and then something happened, we put another layer, and then something happens, we put another layer, and something happens, we put another layer. And in one of the organization, I realized over 12 years, it was a complex layer of technology that we got into. And hence, how do you simplify it? Going back to my first point, customer is not paying for a technology portal that we have or technology that you use for your employees. They will pay if your employees are able to deliver that value, and they will be able to deliver value if their lives are simple. Everybody loves simple life. So if technology can simplify the life so that it can do something, I think it is fabulous. Not to run around just because it's a great thing to do and so on and so forth. For example, like I said, we have 21 manufacturing plants across the world. Most of the plants outside India, the people on the shop floor don't know English. Even at a managerial level, they don't know English, right? I interviewed somebody in Spanish through a Google Translate. So, you know, and then if I launch something to say, you know, ask your questions and queries, it's just not going to work. And if I say, no, we have to do something on employee engagement, which is really nice on technology, that will also not work because I don't have the capacity to spend so much of money and dollars. Just for that, every country has a very different technology, right? It also has to work and leverage of scale. So I think just making that balanced choice of saying, is it creating simplification genuinely? Is it enhancing the capacity of your employees? Is it enhancing the capability of your employees? And it's not one way or the other, it's a joint accountability. I think people have enough capacity for which they want to live for, and then everything sort of transforms.
Very well made points. Now, I have always been intrigued, with this, with the dilemma that technology presents. I work in this field as a management consultant. And on the one hand, technology has allowed us to leverage our capabilities and capacities differently. And there are organizations like, say, a Google or even a TCS, which have said that, a lot of their people are going to work from home. And in 2 years' time, we have come to the realization that's not really the ideal world. We need to have a balance. But we have also, in the process, hooked a lot of our Gen Z employees onto that model, and they're not willing to come back to office. As senior executives, we are grappling with that. As HR leaders, we are struggling to find out the right balance. There are also practical challenges of working from home, because every home may not be in an affluent neighborhood. There might be a power cut. How do you deal with that? You can't work from home without a power cut. What about pilferage of your intellectual rights and your documents? And your brother might be giving attendance on your behalf. We have known these, right? Moonlighting. Now, these are very real challenges produced as a offshoot of enablement of technology. As HR leaders, how are you dealing with this? This is a real problem beyond technology. Let me come to you, Kshitij. You have a technology platform that actually enables people and small and medium enterprises and startups to scale up. But this is a problem that working model is bringing. So my question to all of you is, these future workforce models that are coming up and emerging, are these a threat to our ways of working? And how are you as HR leader seeing this and addressing this?
Sure.
I think your collar mic is working. You need a technology.
Way more convenient with hand mics. Checking again, audible, right? Yes. All right, perfect. So before I answer that, right, let me talk about it. So like there was a lot of weightage about generating value for the customer, the true value. Let's not rely too much on the management knowledge that has been given to us. Businesses, like there are businesses into manufacturing cigarettes, right? Now technology has evolved into vapes, right? Of course, probably it does not cause cancer is one benefit that is there. But aren't we just optimizing something that should not exist in the first place? So businesses, customer, value chains, all of this is great concepts to talk about when you are experiencing it as an employee in the business. A lot of times we need to look out and really see what it is. Now, what I want to set as a context here, first thing is that, if you look at it, like when a business starts, it starts with a founder, right, which has a very clear sense of purpose of what he needs to do with that business. It could be a very simple purpose of delivering a pizza to a pizza lover, to a very greater than humanity purpose like, colonizing the Mars or, sending a rocket to the moon. So while this business owner has a very clear sense of purpose when it starts, over a period of time when you scale that purpose, there are, you call in people. Those people come with their own aspirations, with their own purposes. Some come with simple purposes of making money, for sustainability, learning, and stuff like it. So if you ideally look at it, like there is a gap, the organization aspiration and the individual aspiration. And I think technology is that way where we actually can bridge that gap way more faster. Because, I'll give you one example very recently. I went to a car showroom and I saw an old couple was there to buy a car. And a young salesperson who just joined probably sales a couple of years back, was trying to pitch them the car, right? I was listening to that pitch and I realized that the pitch is all over the place because the needs or the tempting that the salesperson is trying to create in that old couple, that doesn't exist. They're buying car for a very different reason. So, you can answer it with technology, right? I was thinking that if there would have been a great technology or a simple technology in place where as soon as the customer is walking inside the showroom, it prompts the right set of salesperson who understands that need with reference to who is coming. It becomes a lot more effective and a lot more pleasant for the entire community, right? So essentially, I think that's where the technology comes into play also, where it answers things which human capability cannot. we cannot understand the entire Maslow hierarchy so far so well, right? Maslow said it in 1935 that humans experience need in a certain sequence. They have basic needs where they need food, water, shelter, evolves to the self-actualization level. So when our customers, our employees, anybody in the ecosystem is walking inside the door, their needs are all over the place, and you have to, promptly identify it. So it becomes really hard for an individual who is in a certain state themselves to really cope up with that, and that's where I think, technology should come as an enablement. How are we leveraging it? I think, there are so many aspects where, again, Peter Drucker, in 1925, I think he said that, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So I think that's the greatest addition that technology has today, where, we can measure almost everything. And that's what we all do in modern day workplaces, where we are trying to measure every single aspect which is critical for a customer. So keeping that ideology in mind, I think, technology is required to really scale that, and that's a few of the dimensions on which we also design our technology, our jobs. A lot of times I've seen like Byju's, right? So jobs were not scalable. People got in, but there was no growth to look at. So it's just these critical thinkings which have already been bestowed upon us as a human society. If we want to really implement them in an effective manner, that gives us the scope, the technology.
Thank you, Kshitij. If I may come to you, Leena, and I'll request all of you to be crisp now. We are in the final few minutes, but I have a couple of questions for all of you. So what are your quick views on this workforce models of the future? Where do you think hybrid, work from home, and all these will sort of gravitate towards?
So I think most of us are already back to office. Financial service was back to office 2 years ago. Technology companies are back to office from last year. TCS is also back to office from this year. It is a matter of, I think, not about, I think it is more about how the results are going to be measured, and that's where the future lies. There will be a balance required. Hybrid will be given to employees who needs it because of personal reasons, medical reasons, etc., which was there earlier also. Back to office is not just to monitor, it also is required from an employee's perspective, and if anyone over here does a survey in their organization, employees want to come back to work for their own well-being, for their own bifurcation between their personal and professional life. I think that's where it lies, and I think that's what was there, will be there at least in the near future. I don't see a change right now. I think if I ask my kids just to make the last statement, they also would like to go to work whenever they start working, by the way. They don't like schooling from, they didn't like the COVID model at all. So I think that speaks a lot about the so-called Gen Z, Gen Alpha, or whatever that we have at home as well. So.
Great. So I think everyone has had their fill of working from home. Eventually, things are changing. Coming very quickly on that same proposition, staffing and recruitment models are also evolving. Ramakrishna, you briefly touched upon that. Now, how are you looking at changing some of these staffing and recruitment models, especially from B schools, consulting firms? Nimisha, I'll come to you first. What value proposition do you think is going to appeal to your workforce of the future? And how are you going to maintain that supply line while being attractive and while still being relevant for them in terms of digital?
Well, I think the key word here is that today's generation, they are not really looking to do run-of-the-mill stuff or transactional stuff. So we have to make their job meaningful, okay? And when we are hiring from the campuses, from the B schools, from the tech schools, and all these colleges, we are ensuring that the work that they are doing, one is of course very, very high quality. Second, what I would beg to little bit differ from what Leena is saying, that I think one of the key differentiators today, because consulting was one of those industries that was hit by work-life balance issues a lot. And we ensured that hybrid solves part of that problem. We can't manage the client. The clients will still continue to be difficult with deadlines and all of that. But when there are those lean times, people can work from home. And that is also one of the things, so though it's not the answer to this question, Bijit, but I wanted to just put forth there that today's generation, while everybody wanted a break out of the pandemic, but they want flexibility, they want agility. And the reason why there are so many unicorns and startups and so much happening right now is because we all know that they are not really working only for money or survival. They are working for a different reason. They are looking for purpose in their job. They are looking for making a difference here, right? So unless we offer those job offers them that, they are not going to stick around. So whether you're hiring from technology schools or anywhere, you have to offer agility, flexibility, high quality work, and a purpose. And if these four things are met, I think a large battle is won, at least in our case, we have seen with this new generation.
Very well said. I think I'm going to come to a rapid fire section now. This is the last question, and I request all of you to answer it in about 30, 40 seconds. How is your CHRO role changing, and how are you leveraging all the different emerging technologies like Gen AI, data analytics in your personal areas of work and business?
Okay.
This is not forecasting about the future. This is about how you are doing it, and how the rubber is meeting the road. And I'll come in this sequence, Ramakrishna, so you know what sequence you are in.
Sure.
30 seconds each.
Yeah. Okay. I think in a very succinct way, if I were to put it, I think the CHROs today have to play the role of a business officer, technology officer, financial officer, all the CXOs role. I think that's the biggest change. With tech coming in, you have to ensure that all of it meets the business challenges, is able to deliver the right technology at the right price, and it ensures that the life is easy. I think that's what CHROs need to do.
So I think for me, what in financial, in asset and wealth management, a lot of changes are going on. Regulatorily, lot has happened over the last 2 years. The entire space is undergoing a turmoil right now. So the key role for a CHRO right now is change management, and which means collaborating with each of the teams to really take it forward. Technology plays a very critical role because operational leverage has to come in, because the cost to income cannot go beyond a certain point, otherwise the profitability takes an impact, and we are answerable finally to the investors and the shareholders. So that's where we are.
Absolutely. Right. Change management. Kshitij, very quickly.
Well, I think the key role that it is becoming is that it's a VUCA word, right? There is a lot of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in the jobs and workplaces today. So the key role that it's becoming is that establishing that psychological safety for your people, for your leaders, for your processes and businesses and customers as well. So that the amount of tension and stress that we see today, it needs to go down, and that's where I think the CHRO is going to contribute from a human sentiment standpoint.
Great. Psychological safety. Nimisha?
I would say very shortly, I think what Lina said, I also had that in mind, that we are change agents, we are change champions. So the number one role that is expected is of that, while keeping the ethos and that balance somewhere intact. Because we are also the neutral parties in the company. We don't have vested interest in running revenue targets and all of that. So I think we are the change champions, along with the responsibility of keeping the balance intact somewhere.
And finally, Sonal, your views?
I only have 44 seconds. So for me, So for me, I